Following the same procedure for the function y equals 1 over x squared, we get y prime of x is going to be the limit as delta x goes to 0 of y of x plus delta x. We haven't written out that step, but that's going to be, of course, we substitute x plus delta x in for x. We get 1 over x plus delta x quantity squared. Then minus y of x, that's minus 1 over x squared, all over delta x. In the next step, and I think we're going to zoom in just a little bit more here so we can read everything. And this kind of escaped my attention. This symbol here is a smudge. Actually, I had a delta that I'd written in there accidentally and smudged it out. So just kind of ignore that smudge. In any case, to simplify this numerator, we need a common denominator. Obviously, the common denominator is going to be x plus delta x quantity squared minus x squared times x squared, the product of these two denominators. And we get that in the first equation by multiplying by x squared over x squared, obtaining x squared over x squared and this. So we obtain this expression. To get the same denominator in this expression, we have to multiply numerator and denominator by x plus delta x squared, and we obtain this expression. We have the x plus delta x squared over x plus delta x squared times the 1 over x squared here implicitly. Then we take both numerators, the x squared minus the quantity x plus delta x squared over the denominator, and we have this numerator, again still over delta x. Now we're just doing straightforward algebra here, but the symbols are kind of complicated, and it's not all that easy. If we now take this expression and subtract, well, we can't subtract before we expand the x plus delta x quantity squared, so we do that, leaving the denominator the same. And we have this expression, which is going to simplify the x squared and the x squared here. We'll have an x squared and a negative x squared. And then we'll have a negative 2x delta x and a negative delta x squared left in the numerator. So we're going to have the same expressions we have here, but with a negative of this and a negative of this in this numerator. And here's what we get. Okay, negative 2x delta x minus delta x squared over the denominator over delta x. Now we have a complex fraction here. We have a fraction on top divided by delta x. Division by delta x is the same as multiplication by 1 over delta x. So we write it this way to get rid of the complexity of the fraction, leaving this term the same as what we have up here. And we divide this term by a delta x and this term by delta x. We obtain this. And as delta x approaches 0, well, this delta x is going to go away, and this delta x is going to go away. We're going to end up with negative 2x over x squared times x squared. And when that's simplified, we have negative 2. Sorry, let's see again. When this goes to 0 and this goes to 0, we have negative 2x over x squared times x squared, which simplifies to negative 2 over x cubed. And this is our derivative. So if y equals 1 over x squared, the derivative is negative 2 over x cubed.